Let's see if everything's getting up and ready. Oh, perfect. The title screen even came on right on time. Welcome, everyone, to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Randomizer. Right now, I haven't played this randomizer at all, so I have no clue what we're going to begin with or anything. I know some of the randomized music because it's been playing the cutscenes and stuff. I also know Link is going to be in white, so that's going to be fun. Let's begin. Okay. As you can see, the audio is all mixed up. Let's punch in my information. That must be annoying. Let me make sure my stream health is, yep, it's what it normally is when it first boots up, is it doesn't know how to read the right size. That's fine. Let's begin. We have the forest medallion as the base medallion. That's good. I just realized my little logo is interrupting your guys' ability to see that. Let's see. Hopefully that helps there. Yeah, close enough. Let's move it right there. That shouldn't block anything except the map. Nope. I can bring it a little down. I think right there should be good. Let's see. Near perfect. Awesome. So we got the first medallion. We're gonna get 99. Our bag's gonna be 99 rupees. We got our classic boot and our classic clothing. There we go. Well, semi-classic clothing. So, let's start our adventure. Ah, come on. There we go. And drop down. Oop. Alright. Quickly adjust some settings I had that I forgot to adjust. I like my certain controls. There we go. There we go. Now I can zoom in and everything. Okay, let's see what our 4 random treasure chests are gonna be. Okay. Let's open up this fall one over here first. Bomber shoes, not bad. I have no clue what we got there. And then let's see what's here. Ooh, the Ocarina. Time's up, too bad. I don't think that's too bad. These are some great cuckoos, aren't they? They're ranking in the money for me. I don't know what you're talking about. Come back to me, my babies. Okay, let's get a small chest. Shadow Temple. Awesome. Okay. So we got the Ocarina already, which that's good. Let's pause that, see what we got. So we got the Ocarina, the Bomber Shoes, and what song did we get? Sarah's song. That's good. And I think that was it. Okay, that's not too bad. Bomber shoes we're gonna have to maybe use sparingly. Primarily just so that we have the bombs if we need them. Ooh. There we go. Need that. Okay. We don't have the sword, which that sucks, because regularly I like going through here and... Dang it. I like... I like going through here and cutting the plants and getting the money we need. But, hey. Okay, let's see what we get here. Ooh, nice. That's one of them. Keep it up and keep it up. Keep it up. 2 more to find. I think there's no more to find there. We just got reduced by half, which means basically the double damage I was getting, it's now normal damage. For whatever reason, whenever I've decided to do double damage, I've always gotten the reduced damage pretty quickly in the run. So, okay, grab some coin or some rupees here. So, I don't think there's a lot we can do yet, so let me go grab the rupees in this building. That should give us 40 if everything goes as planned. Let's see. Can we get 40? Or do we have to do that cycle again? Almost. 40! There we go. Alright, let's see what's in the shop then, for now. Oh, how much? Oh, that is sad. That is a very sad deal. We don't need the Groot or Fortress key just yet, but we will definitely take the shield. The shield will help us. Oh, that's a sad deal, though. Oh, that's a sad deal. Okay, let's equip that, and I think I need to, yep, there you are. And back to game. Okay, so, since we have the shield, we're gonna go do the musical game. We can do that in the forest. And hopefully that gives us a sword. Hopefully that gives us the curry sword. If not, we're going to be happy we didn't use up any of the Bombachus, because we're going to have to blow in all the way into the Gordon or Gerudo. Gosh, the name's missing me. I can't remember the term. Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Goron. There we go. The Goron area we're gonna have to go into. Okay. That's a simple pattern. Okay. And I think it's only 4 in this version, so we don't have to do this entire sequence all the way through. Or is it 5? It might have been 5. Might have been just slightly wrong. And I think it's a flute. I think my Ocarina was randomized. You made a lot of money? How? Maybe I should go looking for more things to sell. You didn't? Well, you taught me it. Oh, at least we got the big wallet now. So, technically, we could do the, get the sword. It would require us collecting 235 rupees, which would not be an enjoyable thing on the stream, but... Oh, wait, I need to know what Sarah's song is, because that's randomized. So, what is the notes I'm needing to play? Okay, that's not too bad. I think this is the song he needs. Yes! Is that the slingshot? It is. Okay, you've grown up a little from the Great Fairy's power. But you still don't really look like the hero who will save Hyrule, at least not yet. If you're going to go back down the mountain, I can lend you a ring. Come here and grab my talent and hold on tight. Woo hoot. I can't grab your talons, so I guess we're gonna keep going. But that's actually really nice because now we can play the slingshot game. Oh, you're leaving? I'm sorry, piece of dirt, but I must continue on with my adventure. Okay. Back. Back. Go. Let's see what we got. Oh no. I'm so hungry. Everyone feels the faint from hunger because the food shortage in this town. We're in danger of extinction. It's all because we can't enter the quarry of Dongo Cavern. We Gorons live on a diet of rocks. Okay, we're just gonna skip that, and I'm gonna die. There we go. So, I guess I die of starvation now. My starvation coats me in ice, but we at least now know the dialogue we better not see. We see that dialogue, it is a sign of death. But of course, I already have the shielded heart, so I'm not really in danger of much. Oh, I forgot to include our slingshot buddy. Because that's going to help us, especially at the beginning of this, for a little while. And right now it looks like I have a very bad drop shadow. Let me see if I can turn off the map. There we go. It looked like I had a very bad drop shadow on the tracker. There we go. Let's see what we get. Make my beak face the skull of truth. Okay. Let's see what song that was. Ooh! That's not going to help us just yet, but when we become an adult, that's going to be nice. Okay. I guess we don't have much of resources yet, so let's go check out these guys and see if we can get any for 23 cents. That was a strange laugh. That's not the laugh I expected. Shadow Temple. And that literally took a lot of our money. I'm sorry, Dirt. I'm sorry for leaving you. I thought there was money in there. I know there's a Grudo, but unless we can get it for 4 cents, I don't think it's going to be of value. No. Wait, did he drop money? No. Okay, let's continue on our adventure then. So, let's see what we have. We have enough to go into the Goron place. We also could blow up this rock if we really wanted to. So let's at least get the Goron. Let's get Goron open and try to do the maze here with just Bombachus, which means it's going to be a lot of self-pain. There we go. I'm not going to try to just stop the rolling thing. I'm literally just going to try to get the 3 chests we can get up here. Actually, I don't know if we can get all the chests. I also should open up the shop. Let's open up the shop. Because maybe the shop has something of value for us. At least if it can sell hearts, that would be great. Of course, I set this game up where things that help me are very limited. Ooh, they have the sword as well. At 75 rupees. That's not bad. That's not bad. They also have the weird egg. They also have an empty potion. Oops, they don't want to buy it. Okay, so that's actually really good because that's going to get us into Zelda's castle, which gives us an extra item and a song. So, of course, first we would have to get out. So I guess we're going to have to get the sword first. Because if we don't get the sword, we can't get out of the forest. We can't get out of here without the ladder. If we can get the scale of diving, we could get out of here. But then we could get back in. That would complete a cycle. So that might be what we do. And now I know where a heart piece is, so if we need it, I have it. Or a piece of heart, there you go. So let's slowly kill ourselves here. Also, we need 5 pieces, I think we're gonna need. At least 5. Because we could actually open up the money-making grotto. Whew, just barely. Actually, only because I put a bunch of ice, we're gonna go up here and restore our health a little. And I do not know where the sound effect's coming from, but it is not a noise I'm used to. Okay, we're gonna have to go into the shop, exit the shop, refill our health. Okay. And there we go. We're gonna do this about 3 or 4 times, but the great thing is, as we're doing it, we'll make money, and we'll collect sticks. Both are needed. Sticks are gonna help us defeat enemies. Money's gonna help us buy the sword to replace the sticks eventually. We might, if we're lucky, we might just have enough money by the end of this to collect the sword. Which, that would be nice. If not, we'll definitely go up and do the loop, and we'll have more than enough money on that loop to get everything we need. Because that loop, we can rack 26 rupees every like 3 seconds or something when optimized. So I believe it's one of the fastest ways to get rupees in this game. Unless we can find a gold rupee somewhere along the way, but I don't think we're going to. Let me just make sure I have full health, so when we open up those chests, if any ice, we can handle them without dying. If no ice, then we don't have to do this again, and I can go outside, I think is going to be the next thing. Go outside, see what random time of the day it's generated us, even though it's not going to really matter because we're not going to be able to race to Hyrule Castle anyways. So Okay. And go up here. Yeah, we're gonna have more than enough. We're gonna open up the little chest. Oh no. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, that sucks. I don't even want to risk it. We're just gonna have to do it. I did not know that's a thing. I thought these didn't reset. Well, we just waste 4 bomb and chews. That sucks. Well, bomb and chews aren't going to be an issue. Let me mark that. That's good. Which means I might open up. Okay. We got a key, that's nice. I believe that gives me the hearts I need. Because this is just gonna be me fighting this thing with it. Actually, no. I'll use the, There we go. A key. Bottom of a whale key. That's lovely. That's gonna help us. None. We got Silver Song! We could open up, that one room. I don't think that gives us anything, but that's also another quick way of making money. Now it's up, down, up, down. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. It's up, down, up, down, up. There we go. No. It's not Sarah's song. Sarah's song is to get him dancing. I need the Zelda song to open up that door. That sucks. But we might just have enough to do that. Yeah, I'm almost certain we're gonna have enough, or we're just gonna be under. Actually, nope. None of these pots had any. I lied. Okay. So we're gonna open up. We can open up definitely down the dungeon, the cavern. We can backflip, jump on, and grab that stuff. So actually, let me do the stuff up here first. So the first thing we need to do is open up this, because this has a chest, which that chest will give us some stuff. It'll give us a key to Ganon's castle. What do you mean, Ganon's castle? There's no Ganon's castle. There's Zelda's castle right now. Sorry. I've actually never done this with the bomb and chew, so that's going to be interesting. That's either going to be make this really easy or really hard. Because I basically just have to get the bomb and chew to explode at the right time. It made it really easy. Oopsie. But Link was lazy and didn't want to jump. Come on, get up there. And we just opened up our money path. This Gerudo right here is gonna be literally the way we make money. Now, I don't know, oopsie, we haven't updated the wallet. There you go. I believe I have the 200 wallet, but we're gonna test that real quick, because this is gonna be rapid fire. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, let's get some hearts. There's 106. We only need to do this 4 times. 3 times, I think. There we go. If I can get on the platform, it'd be great. There we go. There we go. 2 more times. Real quick. Then we're going to get the wheeled egg, and we're definitely going to get the sword. And then we're going to open up that. We might do the dungeon one first. It all depends on what's all in there, if we can get bombs or not. I mean, bomb and chews are good. I could do it. I could do bomb and chews. We could do a bomb and chew win on that level. There we go. Okay. Since we're here, just so that when we come back... Actually, no. Because I could throw the bomb and then do a backflip and we'd be set. I kind of wanted to see what's down there, but curiosity killed the cat, so... Now go get all weird eggs. Okay. We also might want to invest in buying the bottle, but I don't think we're going to do that right now, but we might want to just take note on how much it is. So now we have the sword, and we got the weird egg. We are doing great. Let me just... Oh, we got sticks. Oopsie, forgot to add the sticks. There we go. We actually don't need sticks anymore. Because we can just chop. We can just chop away with our sword. So yeah, let's open up that. Let's see what's on top of the cavern real quick. You know what? Nah. We'll wait until we know we have something we want to get. We always can come back here. Like, this path is now basically fully open now. Now, the path to Hyrule Field isn't. That's kind of closed, but we basically have this path now. Oh, damn. I didn't know there was going to be a cutscene. Well, I'm going to throw it down again just so that we don't have to deal with the bomb as I try to do this glitch. Okay, and backflip. There we go. The Megaton hammer? Nope. Nope, I'm starving. And dirty curiosity killed the cat. Okay, so let's see what dungeon this is gonna be. We can do this so I don't risk my health. Depending on the dungeon, we actually could get a decent chunk out. Let's see. Oh, it's the normal version. Let's see what Navi has. Hey, you can't take that rod out of here. When you quit fishing, return the rod to the counter. I'm serious. I'm sorry, Navi. Navi is being a little disturbing today. But okay. Let's go get that chest on the run side, because I don't think you need a bomb for that. Oop. Well, if I didn't miss things, I would get it easily. Nope, you need a bomb. But luckily, we can actually carry this bomb over to it, so... We got this, we got this, we got this. There we go. That wasn't a chest. Is that ever a chest? I'm almost certain that's a chest. But I guess not. I guess that isn't a chest. I think it's that one that's a chest. I can't remember. Come on, grab the ladder. Thank you. Okay. Please be a chest. Please be a chest. Yes, it's a chest, and it's a big chest. Awesome. Let's see what we got. Death! Death. We got death. We were greeted with death. I opened the chest. It gave me death. Nothing but death. Ooh, ice cavern map. That's nice to have. And I'm trying to think if there actually is anything left for us to do that's reasonable here. I can't. I don't think so. Can't remember if this corner right here we can actually do much with. But we'll find out. Okay. I'm just gonna pop up here. Kill it. I actually think I can use those explosives, so I think these two I'm gonna bring over here. Just to use. Yep, I used it. Awesome. Because I believe there's a Deku shrub here. Nope. But there's a Scorcher. Who? You? Who are you? I'm Mutu, Princess of the Zoras. What? Are you saying my father's asked you to come to save me? I never asked anyone to do such things. A letter in a bottle? I've had no idea what you're talking about. My father's worried about me. I don't care. Anyways, I can't go home right now. And you, get out of here, you understand? Wow, that Scorcher is a little judgy. I'm almost certain that was actually a Scorcher. Yeah. So that didn't help us much. Dang it. And nothing. We could actually go further into this. Oops. Grab and hoard. Thank you. Hello, whoever just came on. Okay, let's keep going. I don't want to fight you guys. Don't want to fight you guys. Let's keep going. These guys I can fight easily. If I cannot... If I can hit them, thank you. There we go. You leave. Awesome. Let me go grab your other buddy. Dang it. There we go. I'm gonna grab your other buddy. Nope. Nope. I hate my life. There we go. And of course it's the rupees on this side. Let's go get hearts so we don't die. There we go. I've done that multiple times and I've never had that many issues fighting them. Okay, let's open up you. I think we're gonna have to take the hit here. There we go. Let's open up you. Hopefully you have something good for me. Nope, you're an expensive one. That one's gonna be expensive. That sucks. Cure that one. That one. Did this one drop anything for us? Nope. Did this one drop anything? Nope. I believe there was one more. Yep. There we go. Grab that heart, that's gonna help us. And we're just gonna light these torches real quick. I don't know if it's really worth us going back and seeing if we could supply that one with enough money. Because all we did is make about 10 rupees there. So, nope, I want to put away. Put away. Thank you. Well, let's do it. Why not? Okay. Let's see. Is 55 your taste? Let's see. Oh no! I'm starving again. Luckily, I got out of it. You guys respawned, but the roofers and the pots did not. That sucks. But let's continue moving forward. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? Awesome. This opens up the second half. Which we still haven't found the bombs, but that's not horrible because we still have the forest side to do. And we got the power bracelet, which that's the main thing I was looking for. Okay. Yep, I guess that's Master Quest only. Has the stuff behind the thing. Okay, and let's grab one of you guys. Toss you there. See what's in here. This one. I remember this one. I know this how to do this one. There we go. And we get a nice chest along the way. Of death! Okay. Well, at least we know that chest isn't one. And we didn't leave that Deku strub, so that's nice. Okay, and over here. We got 50 rupees there. I bet I'm annoying somebody with that charm. And what do we get from you? Just a skull. Which isn't bad, because we need those, because that's the only way we're going to progress, but it sucks that we have to do that way. Woo! Woo! That could have been bad. Okay, he's there. Knock that out. I don't recall a chest being in here if you kill everything, so... Nope, we got what we need. Dead. Yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted not to... Woo! Okay, and let's go here. I'm almost certain there's a chest in the corner somewhere. Oh, these are gonna suck. These are gonna suck. Oop, come on. Stay up. Thank you. Yes, there is. Let's see what we get. No Scorchula. That's not bad. Okay. Link decided to be stupid. There we go. Perfect. I believe there's nothing in here for us to gain. Now battle with these guys. Ow, ow, ow. Fire horse. That's the one I want. He's gonna have to jump over here. Get up, Link. There we go. Not the jumpy one. Can I get not the jumpy one? That's the one. There's him. Okay. Come on, let me up. Really now, game? Die. Okay, we're gonna have to get over there and get those heart pieces. Just so we have them. Or not heart pieces, but hearts. There we go. There we go. And there we go. There we go. That was a complete race. I really wish when Navi flew off they would just auto-target, but it never does. Okay. Let's definitely get that chest right there. And I believe there will be something good here as well. So let's waste another one of these Bombachus. Ooh, 2. Nope, Come on. Thank you. Let's hope neither of these costs over 50. That helps us 0. And he costs more than 30. That sucks. That sucks. That helped us absolutely do nothing. I wonder. Nope, that doesn't help me get up higher though. I need to get up higher, so I have to do all this again. But we now know that there is at least one deer shrub still in the kids' timeline. Actually, no, this is open either timeline. So we know there's at least one deer shrub that we need to go back and check out one day, maybe. Okay. Nope. Nope. Come on. Thank you. And right. And there we go. And left. And go. Okay, and I believe this is gonna lead us right to the second floor. Yep. Okay. So we've opened up the entire map at least. Now if we really want to try our luck, we could try to open up the last little bit, get that one last chest, but I think we're gonna need more bombs and I don't have that many. So we're gonna leave that section closed for now. What we'll most likely do is make our money. Unless I can do that one thing I was able to do as an adult. Nope. One time I was able to jump into the thing's mouth. Sadly, I already had it set up to be opening, so I didn't get to see if all you need is the mouth is open. That was a waste. Because they drop coins if you don't need hearts. And our chicken's awake. That's good to know. Now we just need to figure our way to get out of here. Well, there is a way. We could actually get out and visit Zelda. Which, that might be of value. We do have Bombachu, so the Bombachu shop should be open. Yeah, we might do that. I might grab the amount we need and head out that way. Because next thing we're going to do is go to the forest. And other than the bottle here, there's not much left for us here. Plus, we have 2 chests we can get on our way. Plus, all the things you can do in Corky Village, so let's do that. Okay, I need to line myself up right here. Perfect, and speedrun. And we made it without any damage. I believe, yep, there it is. These guys, let's kill them. Our first Deku Nut! Yay! The one thing we needed! There we go. That one was rude, it didn't leave anything. So the fairy fountain we can't do yet. So we're just gonna run in here real quick. Get the Scorchula. Dang it. Come on. We got 24 seconds. That needed to kill him. That didn't help us any. And let's blow up this thing real quick. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. And it's a small chest. Dang it. Let's hope it's something good at least. Another one of these. That's not bad. How many did that give us? We're at 6. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. Got 20 seconds to get out of here. There's nothing really left in here for us. Yes, there is. I'll head out and do it real quick to get that last thing. This last little trick to get this. We just need to. I think if I just. Oh, but it's the Rumble Pack anyway, so. So, at least I now know you need at least 30 seconds or so. Or at least 24 seconds. So if you have all 4 health, you could do it. Let's grab your talons and get ourselves to Princess. But I think that's the first time I've seen the Rumble Pack in a randomized game. Oh, we can get the cow item here too. We don't have to be an adult. We can just do this. There we go. The game tricked me. I thought we were about to get the bomb bag, guys. I was like, oh yeah. Come on, grab. Right. Get in there. Get in there. Thank you. Crazy cuckoo lady. Nope, come here. Come here. There we go. Oh, because I burnt up in the fire, my shield was used up. Lovely. Why didn't you guys tell me? Why didn't you guys tell me? Is it daytime or nighttime that... Yeah, I believe it was nighttime. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's nighttime when that happens, but maybe it's not. Come here. Well, luckily we can get shields from the shop. Okay, 2 more. them the jump. We get the one guy to give us his. Did I find all of the what? Did you find all of the tempers yet? What tempers? How do you know? Come here. Come here. Thank you. Wee. Wee. No! I was being silly. I should not have been silly. I should have been respectful and respect the chicken and been like, hey, you are a nice friend of mine. Let me land in the main area and then toss you out. But nope, I decided I'd optimize and try to get to the ledge. But nope. Where's that stinking chicken? The chicken that broke my heart. Come here, chicken. Thank you. Okay. Only 2 more chickens for her, which we can easily get here. And then we can't play with Dampy's graves yet. So I guess the next point is off to Hyrule. What is that? I don't... What is that? Is that what I think it is? It is! Awesome! So when we become an adult, we don't even have to do the pocketed chicken stuff. It's all right there. That is maybe the best thing he could have given us overall. And that's the worst. Okay, grab this. Toss this chicken. We don't know the Song of Storms, so we can't do that yet. But that's not bad. That's not bad. We're getting there. Come here. Come here. Oh, I just realized we're gonna have to buy our shield either way. Or we might find the Hylian shield. Which, I don't know what this game does if you talk to Milo with the Hylian shield on. Because theoretically, you should never be able to talk to Milo with the Hylian shield on in that quest, because you were still a kid and you would have been a kid, but... Okay, whatever you call yourself. Uh-oh. I'm starving. Oh, that helped me none. Let's go visit Princess Zelda. We actually can do quite a few things. We can do the Bomb and Chew game. We can do the Slingshot game. We can get to Zelda. That should be simple. What else can we do? We don't need hearts. We do need to get there quicker, though. This might be problematic. We might be heading back soon. It all depends. Can we get there fast enough? And of course the game freezes. Okay, let's reset that. Let's see where we start. Oh, I'm pretty sure we're gonna start. We're gonna start in our house because the game doesn't know where to put us. Yep. And it froze again. That's not a good sign. Uh-oh, this is really bad, guys. Oh, this is really bad. Okay. We're just gonna see if I can just leave it alone. Nope. Oh, this is bad. Well, we get to do all that again, rapid fire now. Because now we know what we need to do. That sucks. Wait, maybe if I make a copy of it. Maybe it will break itself out of the glitch. Nope. Yep, we're just gonna have to... Oh no. Now everything's broken. Let me reopen my emulator. The world as we know it is broken. I need to turn off this for a little bit, just so information doesn't get revealed on accident. No. Okay. Desktop. Zelda. Okay. And now I can turn it back on. Do we even want to try one more time? We're out of it. I think what it is if I don't move immediately, I get glitched like that. Well, now we can... I guess we sped our way to the Corky Village. Kinda wanted to visit Zelda, but hey. Maybe it wasn't time. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. We're gonna need a shield again. I'll buy that. Thank you. Actually, can we... How much are the bomber tubes? Okay. Bomber tubes might be nice to have. We might have to make note that they have them there. Okay, and we... Oh no, we got the prescription again. It like downgraded on us. That sucks. What is that though? I don't see that in my tracker anywhere though. So. Okay, Milo's out of the way. We can quickly rock this. As long as it's not the Master Quest. I'm not 100% sure on how to complete the Master Quest version of this. So, Into the tunnel we go. Awesome. And it's not the Master Press version, so we can get all we can do this entire dungeon. Which, that's gonna be nice. And because if we do this entire dungeon, we'll also get the, we'll also have the, one thing. Smart. That smart chest being there is just odd. We'll have, the forest opened for us. Which that'll be nice. Before we deal with him, let's not use up our last bomb. Dang it. Come here. Thank you. Okay, and we have everything we need here, so let's just jump across and get things. I think we're nearing all the scorch-rollers we need. We have the map for the bottom well, that's nice to have. There we go. Okay, and we can... Abby keeps wanting to tell me something. Okay. We just need to drop down now. There we go. Over here. I think there's 2 chests. Or no. There's 1 chest, 1 scorch-roller here. Or 2 chests. Oh, we got the scorch-roller. I know why I need to go to menus. I need to do the one thing for my controls again. I'm like, why can't I, like, focus? Ooh. Remaps. Thank you. Let's just collect them. We're almost at 20 already. There we go. Of course. That helps. I think we have 10 scorch-rollers. Yep. Got 10 scorch-rollers. That's nice. Now, so that means if we want, we could actually go through, grab the bottle we left. In the Goron City, and then visit Zelda. That could have been nasty. There we go. Ooh, big chest. Dang it. Map to the forest temple. Nice. Oopsie, didn't want to do that. Too far. Dang it. A key to the bottom of the well. Nice. Jump this. Oh. There we go. Jump. Jump. Roll. Light. Put away. On to the next thing. He was extremely happy. Or he was on fire and I was the evil person not putting him out. Okay, down here. Dive. There we go. Clear that bugger so he's not in our way. Climb. Climb. There we go. If I didn't miss things, that'd be great. Put it away. There we go. We could actually open up that room. It might be worth it. Let's go do it. Why not? Okay. Let's go use up our last Bombachoo. But we can actually buy it at the store now. There's a store which lets us buy it. Which, that's nice. I think I opened this up. I thought it was Zeker Shrub. Because we don't have the boomerang or the hook shot here. So that sucks. I'm just teasing myself now. Alright, the good thing is I'll have the path all the way opened up. So, we'll have that done. I just realized if I was green, I could actually change all my stuff and people would be really confused on why it's taken me over an hour to get to this point in the game. Okay. Calabaño! Okay, let's take you. Really? Thank you. That's it. I think just showing his butt. There we go. Let's fight this thing. Oh, no. Dang it, didn't get another hit on him. Might have to use a stick if I really want to make it quick. See what Navi says. Maybe we misunderstood. The memes. No. Hit his eye. Thank you. I don't need those little devils. There we go. Okay. And it's a heart piece? Oh, that's lame. I was really hoping we were gonna get something. But we're about to get a new medallion, so that's nice. We got one heart piece, we got the bonus heart thing. Oopsie, I paused it. Sorry, that was me. That wasn't it freezing up again. Okay, let's pause it, see what medallion we got. The shadow medallion, awesome. You are not a treasure chest shop. Okay. I think I hurt his feelings. I was like, you're not a treasure chest shop, and he was like, how dare you insult me? I come from a line of treasure chest shops. No. No. Oh. Sarah's gonna give us something, and then we can go back to Hyrule. We might as well just stop and get the Scorchula stuff. I guess it depends on what time of day it is. It's daytime right now. So, line ourselves up a little, turn around, speed run. Yeah, we should go to Zelda because even though, yes, we could get something from the Scorchula house, the downside is we only could get something from the Scorchula house. Unless I could get there at nighttime. Yeah, don't do that. Come on, Link. There we go. Got a 70 there. We are in. It took us a while, but we are there. I have no clue what we just picked up. The boomerang! That sucks that we picked it up now, but hey. Beggars can't be choosers, right? At least we picked it up. Okay. That's a fair take. Let's check what's in the markets. Megadon hammer, small key, heart container. We might stop by and get that heart container. I mean, it's in the store, it's only 20 rupees, it's like a bargain. Forest Camper Boss Key. Epona Song. Magic Meter. I guess we'll buy the boss key right now. Oh, it wasn't the boss key, was it? It wasn't the boss key, was it? No, it wasn't the boss key. That sucks. That honestly sucks. So we can get the thing she's gonna give us. So the Spirit Temple boss key. That's nice. Don't know why she had it, but hey. That goes into some dark chutes and ladders. We can go wake up her dad. We can go talk to Zelda. Right. Is there a Scorcho in the area? I know there's one in the tree, which we'll get on the way back or so. But I don't think there's one in the courtyard. Yes, I know. I really should have went back and got the Scorcho Forest, but sometimes people make mistakes. I believe there's nothing there. There we go. I don't think you can wake him up at night. Let's see. Can you wake up the sleeping guy at night? Yes, you can. Nice. That's good to know. That is really good to know. Now I wonder, can we... I don't think you can. Because you should be able to do that, but I don't recall ever really doing that. No, because it's disabled, okay. I was like, can we go into first person in this area? I was like, I'm pretty sure I've never done that. But there should have been nothing that would have stopped you when I originally played this game. Well. How about we don't die immediately? Skill. Nope. I believe there is a way to time it where you can actually sneak by them like in one swoop. One sweep. We actually got the letter. That's beautiful. We can open up Goron City now. That is nice. We can open up Goron City. We can get the mask. We can sell the mask. Still haven't gotten bombs yet, though. That sucks a little. Yep. I'm gonna die. There we go. No, I haven't found all the temples yet. You're asking a lot on a young boy. I believe he doesn't give us anything. I think he just opens up the gate. Yep. Which that sucks. But hey. We can go. Alright, I might just grab. Go to Hyrule again. Do those party games and stuff. And most likely call the stream there. And then we get enough money to do all the games. Assuming that we don't get anything in those games of value. Only 4 more to go. There we go. And I'm sure we could, if need be, we can get 5 rupees. You know what? Actually, we're gonna wait until it hits nighttime. And then we're gonna do the dampy thing. Open up the graves. Yep, let's do that DMP thing. We got like 8 or 9 Scorchers we can get. I think there's even one in the graveyard we can get. No! Let's see if we can. We should be able to be placed in Krokrika Village. Nope. It didn't even give us our 200. Reset our chicken. Did I choose the right game? Let me reset this. I don't think I chose the right game. Hello, the black and one. Nope, I chose the right game. We have to do all that again. I don't even know where it left us off at. I know we at least beated the Deku tree. I'm almost certain we did that at least. That sucks. Well, I guess we can go back and get, what's the thing? There's Scorcho in the tree area. Why am I doing this? We can go the faster way. Yes. No, I'm in vanilla. So no, I'm doing the vanilla run. I believe you can check the settings if you click the link below, but I'm almost certain I'm doing the vanilla run. Shoot! I saw the sun. I flew too close. But this one's actually not been too bad. We had to do some weird things at the very beginning. But now pretty much everything opened up. Well, when you complete a temple, it saves. You ask where it would drop you off. I agree, but lately it's been just dropping me off my house if the game glitches. Which I think is the game saying, hey, I don't know where you were last. That's interesting. Come on, thank you. No. Okay. It sucks because I'm like, this is the second time tonight, and the first time it was really bad. Did we buy this already? Please tell me we didn't buy it. Ah, we bought it. That sucks. I can't even imagine that in this world I didn't screw up at least once. We have Bomb & Shoes. Let's go play the Bomb & Shoe game. Because that one I'll at least win at. Why I'm scratching all the time? I guess that's one way of scratching your face. You lie. Do you have it? No, I don't, but sure, let's say I do. That is not, that is close to the Skull Kid, so. Okay, let's do this. See if I can have my luck I was having in a practice game. Nope, too high. On the money! Luck, luck, luck! Aww. Move out of the way! Really, chicken? Regularly, it would move right out of the way. Well, we gotta go back to my treehouse again. I have no clue why it's so glitchy sometimes. I'm trying to think of something. We're just gonna try it again. We're gonna try it again. I'm angry. We're just gonna do what I did before. We're gonna go, talk to Zelda, get those things, and we're gonna save it immediately after talking to Zelda. That's how we're gonna do it. That's the only way we're gonna be able to do it, so. Because this game wants to be glitchy on me for whatever reason. It's just like, hey, you know how you want to do something? How about no? How about you just don't? Okay. Alright, since we know that Scorchel has already gotten, let's just run through this. I don't think I've talked to her yet, so I'm gonna get what she gave us originally. Grandma has the biggest bomb bag, apparently. Wrong one. Not hitting it. Hit it. Oh, I guess it's only at night that it has the 20 rupees. Okay, before we talk to her and start that, let's get this guy out of the way. That was a Scorchula. Okay, I guess I did talk to her already. Which makes no sense, because if I talked to her, I would have already went up to Zelda and all that. I think this game has no clue where it is right now. Would I? Did I? Or I have no clue where I am. One or the other. One of us don't know where the other is. How are you all doing tonight? Doing well? Yeah. I'll know very soon. Yeah, okay. Apparently that wasn't done right. Okay. I have no clue how that worked, but okay. We're just gonna keep on going. And we're gonna keep on trucking. Come on, climb. Thank you. And jump. That lens flare. Man, that was a nice lens flare. Catch me. I'm done. I'm done with this. I think this game really just want to work my nerves. Let me save real quick. It just wants to irk my nerves. We could do a speed test real quick. We're gonna actually do a legitimate speed test. 1, 2, 3. Okay. More. 1, 2, 3. It's about the same. Jumping to the right. It's about the same as just backflipping. Backflipping is just a hair bit faster. Just a hair. Of course, when you time the hair by 1,000, it's a lot faster. Woo! Whew! That's pixel perfect reaction. That was pixel perfect reaction. Okay, let's get the ladder. There we go. Talk to her, and I think she gives us a scorcher. Yep. Okay. And save it. Okay. Now we're gonna go back to our regularly programmed selection. After I'm gonna quickly... Yeah, we have 13. I think we've already talked to the scriptural man. No, we haven't. Because I did that. I went in, talked to him, went up the mountain. course, I don't really want to talk to him, but... Oh, I'm so hungry. Starvation. Oh yeah, the black one when you weren't here, but we found out that when I'm hungry, I freeze. I just become a block of ice and slowly starve to death. It's not genetically advantage. It's just how my genetics are. I'm in for the long haul. I'll just freeze and wait until the ward de-thaws. Okay. Go up here. Sadly, we don't have bombs. We're basically gonna run through, make a bunch of money, then kill some Scorchulas, and most likely that will be the end of the stream, sadly. I honestly do not know why. I honestly do not know why. Luckily, we saved it theoretically. I should have 36 rupees. 1. 36. Okay, cool. It did save it. Okay. Do we even want to try to go up Death Mountain again? No, if we're gonna do that, we're gonna go the faster way. Through the woods. We already got those things. I never blew up this. That sucks. Nope, that's down. I want to go up. Okay. Okay, back up here. Finally. Toss. Collect the hearts. There we go. Let's make our 200 rupees again. And hopefully it'll be nighttime. We can go down. Collect us some Scorchulas. Hopefully it just became nighttime and we can do the Dampy thing. At worst, we can do the graveyard still. Dang it, I missed it. A 100. 4 more. Or, yeah, 4 more. Come on. Thank you. There we go. And I think we're just gonna stop there. Because we don't need all 200. Before I continue, let me save this so that We're not starting at the treehouse again. Now we just wait. That's one way of exiting that. That would have only been better if it was nighttime already. Let's go kill these things real quick. Nope, it's turning night. And that Scorcherless Hound was nighttime. Dang it, that would have been perfect to kill the Scorcher. Do the fortress key, nice. Dang it. Dang it. There we go. Let's see what we get. Let's see what we get. Ooh, it looks like a boss key. It is a boss key! And I didn't freeze when I landed, so it actually was a boss key. Dang it. Always a little too fast on that. I just realized we missed Dampy. Dang it. Maybe not. Maybe if I'm lucky, Dampy's still up. None of you toured me. None of you toured me. None of you were like, hey, you might want to check on Dampy. Oh, he's still up. Oh, he's still up. That's so good. He found a key for us. The Spirit Temple key, an appropriate place to keep. I believe this has just the chest. Yeah. Okay. Let's exit out here. Remember to save the game again. Okay. Oh, we have the boomerang. Totally forgot to add that. How many? 5. Okay. We also have the Scorcher on the tree that we need to get. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. Okay. So that entire area is cleared, other than the one grotto, the one hole near the center of the town. I'm gonna head back to the temple. We're gonna do some mini games, and then we're gonna hopefully not freeze again and be finished. Dang it. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're not. Ooh, giant one. And dead. And dead. And dead. $200. We should be good. Again, let's save it. And because we had trouble with the Bomachu one, we're gonna go over here and do some dots. Dang it. Dang it. I was like, please don't make me miss that. What did we get? Another heart. What did we get? I have no clue what we got there. It showed a heart piece, but I didn't get one. Before we do this again. Okay. Line myself up. Oh, I was really hoping that would have been nice. my bad. There we go. And of course. Okay, come on. Of course you do. Really now? I think we can sneak it by you. Ah! Ooh, a song. Dang it. Don't move. That was bad timing on my part. Oh, no. Oh, you are lucky, chicken. I did not get Den's file. Stop lying to me. I got a song. Thank you for saving my kids. What, me? Oh, that's okay. You've already destroyed 15 spiders of the crust so far, so that's fine. Don't worry about me. I'm awake already. What? Well, I'll be if it ain't the forest kid from the other day. By the way, thanks a lot for waking me up. It took some doing, but I finally got Malon back in a good mood. So what are you up to? Okay, we're just gonna... Oh my gosh. Do I want again? Yes. Bomber Cheese, sure. I don't know what song I got. It won't tell me. I'm gonna quickly do these real quick. Because we're gonna end the stream very soon. No. Literally last second it decides to turn around on me. There we go. And we got the bomber chews. Sadly, we're not going to play again. Go out, find out what song I earned, and then we're going to save. I'm going to end it here, guys. Let's see what song. Oh, was it the song I need? Yes, it was. Awesome. Well, that's that. I'm going to pause it one more time. Show you guys all the other stuff we got that I wasn't keeping track of. So we got 2 boss keys, a couple dungeon maps, a bunch of lure keys all over the place. So, not bad. Not bad if I can say so myself. But that's the end of this stream. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.